fighting to win games. That, to me, tells me that it's a power struggle going on at the highest of levels. The front office still believes that Johnny can be the guy. The coaching staff knows that he can't be, at least not in this environment. He needs a stable environment to succeed, and Cleveland is anything but stable in terms of their constant turnover. So I would turn it over to the young kids, maybe not Justin Gilbert, but I would see what I've got with Cameron Irving and Danny Shelton and Johnny Manziel, and just see what I've got, because I've got a lot of decisions that I have to make for this club going forward, and I don't want another small sample size to go on it.
Oh, you sure do. Yeah, you have a ton. And for the kids, I thought a one pass breakup in the end zone. Now, granted, Gilbert got away with the call, but he was all over the receiver. I thought he didn't play horrendous in his limited snaps. I thought Nate Orchard played pretty good. But you're absolutely right, Matt, because it's going to be hard-pressed for this team, never mind quarterback, to win another game. So do you want to lose out or win one or two more games with Josh McCown, who's 36 and is going to be beaten up to a bloody pulp? What does that get you next year? It gets you nothing. What it gets you is, yeah, well, Johnny showed some flashes, and so, all right, well, let's have another quarterback controversy. No, I'm 100% in agreement with you. You play Johnny out. If he balls out, great. Then you can use that number one pick on something else. And maybe he does well, but you don't win a lot of games, and you still think, all right, maybe we'll take a quarterback in the second or third round who we like instead of a high first round pick. Or maybe Johnny goes in and absolutely sucks. Then you move on. But to just keep trotting out Josh McCown and this same mindset of nonsense, of play calling on both sides of the ball, of dropping back Paul Kruger into coverage, like, it just makes no sense. In last night's game, Matt, so Johnny Manziel overall, if you just look at the stats, they don't look good. 15 for 33, 168 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, and a 71.3 quarterback rating. Here's what I take away from this, though. He had a lot of drops. Taylor Gabriel's done. Taylor Gabriel he has fallen off the map from his good rookie season. He's gone to me. One of those undrafted 4-foot-tall receivers. But you take away the drops. All right, Johnny puts them in his hands. He threw the ball away instead of forcing it for the most part. He did not turn the ball over. And Matt, in that first half, he made that play rolling out, zipped it to Duke Johnson for a touchdown. He showed enough flashes to me and enough smarts to not turn the ball over to warrant another start and go the rest of the way. I'm not saying he was perfect by any stretch, but I saw calmness in the pocket. I saw progression that way, and that his decision-making has improved. I think he is taking the right steps. What do you think? What do you think of last night?
There were a lot of plays that were left on the field offense yesterday, and it wasn't all on Johnny. Johnny put the ball in spots that needed to be caught, and normally sure-handed players were dropping the ball. It seemed like initially he gave everybody a pep, and that certain players, not to drop any names, but certain running backs in particular, ran a hell of a lot harder than they have in previous weeks, because they might have been one of those 3 starters that said that I play better with Johnny. So it seemed like certain guys did respond to it.
Corral looked good.
The kid did as much as he could. I mean, he didn't make a ton of mistakes. The second half, nobody made anything happen because the play calling sucked.
Yeah.
Mike Patton wanted to say that Johnny was inconsistent. Well, yeah, he was inconsistent because if he had to constantly start in 2nd and 13 and run his way out of it, hell, no, Peyton Manning's going to struggle. Tom Brady's going to struggle with those kind of numbers. It wasn't on Johnny specifically. It was on the coaches. They let him down. Some of his teammates let him down as well. I go back to my previous point. I think he's much better suited in an environment that is more stable. You give him a shot with a Patriots-like team, because the Patriots aren't going anywhere from Jimmy G and Tom Brady. Those are the teams that he can succeed with. Cleveland is not that team. There's not the belief in him from the coaching staff that gives him enough confidence to execute his job. He's got certain people chirping in his ear, and then, from the general manager to the owner saying how great he is, how much he's matured, And then you look at the coaching staff, and they're like, yeah, he knows the plays now, so that's a step in the right direction. We should not be applauding him for that. That's his job.
Yeah,
you know that. You should find a way to make him a more consistent quarterback, not sit there and say, well, he knows the plays.
Exactly.
No good.
Exactly. We have a message in from Spreaker.com where we do the Doghouse live, and you can tune in, Spreaker.com, from @ScottFogg, says, let Manziel finish, clean house, get draft plan together. So thanks for listening live there, Scott. And I totally agree. Matt, you know what else doesn't help Johnny? You know what else doesn't help Johnny? The fact that your 2 Pro Bowl linemen in Joe Thomas and Alex Mack get penalties. They move before the snap. They get penalties to push you back. Those are all the things that people forget. They look at the stat sheet. Oh, Johnny sucked. Johnny didn't suck. What sucked was that your linemen made those mistakes. What also sucked was that Randy Starks, another Ray Farmer signing, had 2 horrendous penalties on the same drive that allowed the Bengals to score a touchdown, and that puts your offense even more behind the 8 ball, forces you to go away from the run, forces you to throw more. Now, Matt, before we went on, I know you want to go off on Randy Starks, brother.
Randy Starks is a veteran NFL player that acted very rookie-like in Pee Wee football yesterday. The Browns were behind that whole game, and he made 1 tackle at the line of scrimmage, not even for or after the line of scrimmage, not even at or for a loss, and he decides to stand over a running back and taunt him like he just caused a game-clinching fumble in the Super Bowl. 15 yards later, he's looking at the scoreboard wondering why the hell he got flagged for a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can tell him right now, because he was an idiot. He did a stupid thing. You don't sit there and celebrate making 1 tackle. Newsflash, dude, that's your job. You're paid to tackle the ball carrier. You're paid to collapse the pocket, which you can't do.
Nope.
You're paid to set the edge, which you can't do. And you're paid to make tackles, which you finally freaking did when you got on the field. And then you screw it up. And then, later in the drive, you try to do something else that's special, and on 4th down and 2, when the Bengals inexplicably try a screen pass and, mind you, throw it short and have it bounce off the turf, you decide to jump offside. So you gave them a free 4 cracks at the end zone, which they did not need, mind you, and that turned what was a stop in your own territory after a struggling Andy Lee punted the ball away, and all of a sudden, it's 7 points for the Bengals. So 2 stupid penalties by a supposed veteran end up costing you 7 points. Now, in a close game, that makes all the difference in the world. The Browns were not in a close game yesterday. They were for part of it, but they cost it big time when they had an opportunity to get off the field, and you have stupidity upon stupidity, and penalties just add up. You can't have that if you want to be a good team. The Patriots don't do that. The Packers don't do that. The Broncos don't do that. All these good defensive teams, they don't do it. You did, and you're supposed to have one of the best defensive schemes in the NFL. And yeah, you have players who don't know what the hell they're doing executing the scheme, so it makes everybody look bad. And Randy Starks made a lot of people look bad yesterday, namely Ray Farmer.
But, Matt, the problem was that when Randy Starks made those mistakes, the Browns were very much in that game, and that's why it was so costly. I think the reason he celebrated is because he gets so few solo tackles. 9 games, Matt. Do you know how many individual tackles he has? 8. 8 in 9 games. There's your big safety net. As far as a run stopper, a plug guy up the middle, someone who you could say, okay, hey, Phil Taylor, go for a walk, and hey, his knees were all banged up. I don't necessarily blame the Browns on that one. But to have him do that, and another penalty. But you know what stood out to me, Matt? After all that, now do you think of Bill Belichick, a Mike Tomlin, heck, a Marv Lewis, if they had a defensive guy make those 2 mistakes, a veteran, on the same drive, do you think he probably would have a seat for a while to think about what he did with? Randy Starks did not miss a defensive snap. Those errors, not a defensive snap. And you know what? He's going to get his extra day of rest just like Joe Thomas next week. He's going to get it as usual. 0 consequence, 0 accountability. that is the beginning of why this team is in the disaster that it is. Because when Randy Starks, if young players look at that, Danny Shelton looks at that. Hey, a veteran, what makes those mistakes? What a message that would have been if they sat him down. Nope, get back out there, Randy. No problem. I'm Mike. I'm a flatline Mike Penton with no emotion, and I'm your buddy. That's where we're at.
Randy Starks would have had a seat on the bench, but he would not have had a seat on the plane flight home. He would have been cut by a good team. The Patriots would have sent him home.
Sure they would have.
The Steelers would have sent him home. And we put him back out on the field because we don't have a better option, which...
It doesn't matter, Matt. You should have just benched his ass because. Just because. Put somebody else in. It doesn't matter at that point. You put him out to send a message.
It reminds me of a scene in the movie Hoosiers where there were 5 guys on the floor and one fouled out. And there was another guy on the bench who was able to play, but he did something earlier in the game, and Gene Hackman was pissed at him, so he pulled him. And when the guy fouled out, he said, we're going to play with 4. Randy Starks needed a Hoosiers moment yesterday. I don't care how decimated the Browns were up front. I would have put a linebacker at defensive end if I had to get through that game. Randy Starks wouldn't have seen the light of day. And if personally, he won't see the light of day if I'm him. The rest, if I was Jim O'Neill, I would have benched him, and I would have only played him if 4 games later, if somebody got injured, or in the last game of the year, I would have made him earn his paycheck.
Yeah. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Zero message, zero accountability. So the Browns fall to last place in the AFC North with the Ravens on the bye week at 2-7. So that means with the Browns and the Bengals playing off, there's only one other AFC North team in action this week. Let's go around the money line, shall we? Our sportsinteraction.com betting time here on the Doghouse.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Yeah, it's that time.
Here comes the money.
Oh, that theme never gets old. I love that. That's a classic. At least that makes us smile, right, Matt?
Yeah, Money Mac, St. Old Mac. Gotta love it.
So, sportsinteraction.com, sponsor of the Doghouse. You go to sportsinteraction.com/Browns. They will match up to $200 of your first deposit. So you put down $20, they'll make it $40. You put in $100, you'll have $200 in your account. So, we'll go through some AFC North situations here. It was the Oakland Raiders in to play the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Raiders are no longer the joke that they usually are, Matt. They're not the punching bag, the whipping boys anymore. They're 4-3. The Steelers are 4-4, and the Raiders 2-1 on the road. Now, you look at the money line, Pittsburgh favored by 4. So for a straight-up winner, Pittsburgh pays out $1.50, Raiders $2.70. With the spread, it's Pittsburgh by 4, pays $1.87, Raiders $1.95. Matt, am I nuts? Or I'm thinking at $2.70 with a straight-up winner with the Raiders. I'm going Oakland.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I would go Oakland myself, personally.
I'm going to make a bet right now while we're on the air.
Oakland's a lot better team than people give them credit for, and the Steelers do not have Le'Veon Bell anymore, so they need a boatload of help at the running back position. And Roethlisberger is still, coming back off the injury, so he's not at 100% either. I would definitely take Oakland in that one.
Yeah. Oh, why not? And really, it doesn't. It's too bad the Browns couldn't have squeezed out one more win to at least fool us to be in the conversation of fighting for second in the division, because the Steelers are by no means a polished product. You have Roethlisberger working his way back. That's great. You got Bryant back, Antonio Brown, but the defense in the secondary still suspect. And heck, like it just doesn't seem like they're set to necessarily run away with second place in the division and make a wild card push. Because if you look at it right now, New York Jets 4-3 in the AFC East, Steelers 4-4, Houston Texans 3-5, Oakland Raiders 4-3. So the Raiders Steelers, we're seeing a wild card battle in that one there. So interesting one to follow for One other game to keep an eye on. I wanted to get your thoughts on it real quick. You got the Green Bay Packers 6-1 against the 7-0 Carolina Panthers. The Denver defense, we saw it up close